Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to our summer campaign of Arkham Horror, the card game, where we're taking on the Circle Undone campaign. Last week, Agnes and Carolyn played through the first scenario, the Witching Hour. They picked up 5 experience apiece, but they also picked up a trauma apiece. Agnes physical, Carolyn mental. I had them reversed in the upgrades video, but after double checking the log and the scenario, I have it straight now. We've upgraded their decks with that experience. Link to that video will be in the description down below. And now this week, they're up for the second scenario of the campaign at Death's Doorstep. Let's go ahead and set the scenario, set the scene for that scenario. It would help if I, hang on.
Tizzy, after the sudden
back up. Now that we got that straight.
At Death's Doorstep. 4 missing, whereabouts unknown. Residents of French Hill are still in a tizzy after the sudden disappearance of several guests and house staff from the home of Mr. Joseph Meiger during the night of the annual Silver Twilight Charity Gala last Sunday. We are absolutely baffled as to how this could have happened, said Mr. Meiger the day after the disappearances. That said, we are confident that Sheriff Engel and the Arkham Police will do their due diligence in finding the missing persons. There is still no evidence whatsoever as to the whereabouts of Miss Gabriella Mason, Mr. Jerome Davis, Mr. Valentino Rivas, and Mrs. Penny White, all of whom vanished halfway through the event and have not been seen since. The police are offering a substantial reward for any person or persons who come forward with information related to these disappearances. When asked whether the police were considering the case a homicide, Sheriff Engel had this to say: "There's no reason to suspect foul play is involved just yet. However, given the circumstances, we have to consider every possibility. No other attendees have come forward with statements concerning the gala, which seemed to finish without a hitch despite the disappearances. So far, none of the prominent members of the Silver Twilight Lodge have expressed any concern about the lodge's upcoming benefit dinner, which was recently moved to the same location, Joseph Meiger's estate in French Hill. I am certain that this event will be a smashing success," Mr. Meiger told the Arkham Advertiser in an interview yesterday. "There's no reason for the fair residents of Arkham to worry. Minnie Klein." You fold up the newspaper and shove it aside on your desk, examining the other files you've collected over the last few days concerning the missing persons. It has been several days since your experience in the woods. You've tried to put it all out of your mind, but it is impossible. Every night you dream of a nameless place in the void of space, a faint discordant melody of hypnotizing flutes pulling you forward. Now there are others disappearing from the town without a trace. The disappearances dance along the edges of your thoughts. No reason to worry, you ponder, turning the man's words over in your head. You think of the carburetor and you wonder if you are simply imagining devils where there are none. Nonetheless, there is only one way to know for sure. You pick up the invitation, examining the silver embossed stationery and perfect calligraphy. The Silver Twilight Lodge requests the pleasure of your company on the evening of November the 29th at 8 o'clock at the estate of Joseph Eckhard Meiger, Esquire, for the benefit of the Fairchild Foundation. As you prepare for the night ahead, you cannot help but wonder, are you taking action to remedy your fate as the students who say are advised, or are you walking willingly into the jaws of a grim destiny? Proceed to set up.
Ooh, that's a little deep, folks. But anyway, that's the scenario all set up. Now let's take a look at our lady's opening hands. We'll grab Agnes's opening hand first. Unfortunately, we are starting with a weakness. So we are starting with the tower. We are starting with the Tower 16, circumstances beyond your control. Normally you get to replace weaknesses, but this is the one weakness that specifies that if it's in your opening hand during setup, before or after you take a mulligan, you can't replace it. It has to stay in your opening hand. Ties up the tarot slot. And I can't commit cards to skill tests while this Tower 16 is in my hand. So I need to get that out of my hand, especially if I'm going to be doing any committing. Which this will be a prime candidate for. Heirloom of Hyperborea. Will, lore, combat, and 2 question marks. Only damage and or horror from player card effects can be assigned to it, but after I play a spell, I get to draw a card. 3 and 3 on soak there. Storm of Spirits. This is our AoE spell that almost saved us in the last scenario, but we still ended up fighting it. You'll have to forgive the noise of the lawnmower. It's actually a pretty nice day out, so I have the window open trying to let some fresh air in here. But anyway, that's the AoE spell. The necklace, the accessory we're going to be far more likely to play than the Heirloom of Hyperborea. We'll get our first look at Hallowed Mirror. Limit 1 per deck. Forced. After it enters play, search your bonded cards for 3 cards of Soothing Melody. Add 1 to your hand and shuffle the other 2 into your deck. When Hallowed Mirror leaves play, find each of these copies of Soothing Melody, even if they're out of play, and remove them from the game. It's a 2 cost to play. You get a Will on Commit, but I'm probably going to be playing it soon. And a copy of Clairvoyance. 4 cost to play, Lore on Commit. Uses 3 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge, Investigate. Investigate using Will instead of Lore. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at your location. If an Elder Sign +1 or 0 is revealed during this investigation, take 1 horror. So that's Agnes's opening hand. Now let's take a look at Carolyn's, which I'm also pretty happy with. So Carolyn's going to start off with a copy of Deduction. We saw this last scenario. It's a skill card commit, a lore on commit. If this skill test is successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at your location. Fingerprint Kit, which is a 4 cost to play. It's basically a 3 charge deduction. It's probably the simplest way to explain that. Clarity of Mind, 2 cost to play. Will on Commit, 3 charges for use. As an action, spend 1 charge, heal 1 horror from an investigator at your location. First Aid, 2 cost to play, Will on Commit, 3 supplies on uses. If it has no supplies, discard it. As an action, spend 1 supply to heal 1 damage or 1 horror from an investigator at your location. And Book of Psalms, 3 cost to play, Will on Commit. Uses, 4 secrets. As an action, spend 1 secret, heal 1 horror from an investigator at your location, add 2 blessed tokens to the Chaos Bag, and it takes up 1 of her hand slots. So we could fill Carolyn's hand slots pretty quickly, and we might, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. Now we'll come back up, we'll come all the way up top, so we can take a look at the opening act and agenda decks. So, alright. So first let's take a look at our opening agenda. Agenda 1A, Justice 11. Be true to yourself and seek the truth in others. You must balance the scales. You shall be called to account for your actions. Silver Twilight enemies cannot be damaged or defeated. Forced, when you draw a monster enemy, instead of spawning it, set it aside out of play and place 1 doom on this agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. So we do need to watch out for the Ancient Evils clause on there. And then our opening act. Act 1A, Hidden Agendas. As you approach the patio of the Miger estate, a man in an elegant suit checks your invitation at the door. What is it? Inside, guests mingle and chat with one another, but much of the conversation is awkward and terse. A silent tension has gripped the manor, and you are not sure why. Objective. Find information about the disappearances by discovering as many clues as you can. Do not advance until you are instructed. Hint. It may be worthwhile to investigate the last known locations of the missing persons. So on that note, now we'll go ahead and move over and take a look at our starting map. Here's our starting map. First of all, we'll take a look at Agnes and Carolyn's starting location, the entry hall. Flavor text on here. Clearly, whatever business Joseph Miger has his hands in, it's doing well. A soft red carpet guides you deeper into the opulent hall, flanked by small statues of marble and ivory. Above, a glimmering chandelier casts a brilliant shine along the polished floor and wooden stairs. And then we'll flip this over to its revealed side and see. Shroud of 3 0 clues. Resign. As an action, resign. I guess there's nothing to those disappearances after all. Most of the manor is off limits to guests who are not members of the Silver Twilight Lodge, but your investigation takes priority, so you wait for the right time to sneak away. Alright, so that's our starting location. Now, as part of setup, we also would have had to put clues out. Because we used Jerome and Penny, we would have had to put clues on put 6 clues on the office and 6 clues on the balcony. The office was because of Jerome, the balcony was because of Penny. But if you remember from 2 weeks ago, we would have put 6 clues out. But if you remember from the prologue scenario 2 weeks ago, I'll go ahead and put the 6 clues out on each location just for formality's sake. So 6 clues on the office, 6 clues on the balcony. There we are. Now, setup also instructs you for each piece of evidence left behind to remove a total number of clues from those locations, from the above locations, as evenly as you can. And because we left 12 pieces of evidence behind in the prologue scenario, as evenly as possible means these clues all come right back off. Alright, so now that we've got that out of the way, that is our opening, that's the scenario all set up. We're ready to get this show started, so let's have our lead investigator will once again be Agnes, and she'll be our first investigator for this round as well. The start of her turn will take us down to her play area. We're down here to Agnes's play area. Action 1, we are going to spend we are going to spend 4 resources, but unlike what I was thinking earlier, I'm not going to get the Tower 16 out of her hand yet. I'm going to get her clairvoyance on the board. So as we recall, this uses 3 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge to investigate. Investigate using will instead of lore. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at the location. If an Elder Sign +1 or 0 token is revealed during this investigation, take 1 horror. So we'll get the 3 charges out for that. Once again, we'll be using Brassback tokens from LCG Tokens. Link to their Etsy shop will be in the description down below. So we'll get those charges active. And then action 2, I almost forgot. We'll also grab our handy-dandy little action tokens from Orbits. Link to the website for Orbits will be in the description down below as well. So there are Carolyn's action tokens. We'll bring those down here. And we'll grab Agnes's as well. And there are Agnes's, one of which will immediately get flipped when I bring it down to the board. There we are. There we go. Okay, now that we got that figured out, action 2 will be to take a resource. And then action 3 for Agnes will take us back over to the map. Since everything seems quiet, let's go ahead and start doing a little bit of exploring. So for action 3, Agnes will move up to the Victorian Halls. And let's take a quick look at the Victorian Halls. Even the hallways of this manor are luxurious. Decorated with thick rugs, bizarre artwork, and uncanny statues shaped from scrap metal, rays of sunlight shine through the curtains as the sun sets over Arkham outside. On the revealed side, as an action, you go looking for trouble. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a Silver Twilight enemy is discarded. Spawn that enemy in the Victorian Halls, then gain 2 clues from the token pool. Group limit once per game. That does not seem like a good plan to me, but I suppose that's something we could end up doing later. Probably not, but I'm getting ahead of myself on that. Anyway, that was Agnes's last action. So now let's move over to Carolyn's turn, and her turn could very easily start at her play area, but I'm actually going to stay here because most of what she's going to be, because she is going to end up moving on her third action anyway. Actually, action 1, we're just going to go ahead and move her up to the Victorian Halls to go join Agnes. Action 2, we'll spend 3 to play Book of Psalms. It's a 3 cost to play, takes one of her hand slots, uses 4 secrets. As an action, spend a secret to heal 1 horror from an investigator at your location. Add 2 bless tokens to the chaos bag. So I'm going to grab 3, I'm only going to grab 3 secrets, because for action 3, so there are the 3 secrets, once again from LCG. That's action 2. The reason I'm grabbing only 3 is because action 3 is going to be to heal that horror off of Carolyn. So that's off. We put 2 bless tokens in the chaos bag. Get my bless and curse tokens out. There we go. And there are the curses. Okay. Just making sure I have everything together here. Alright, so we've healed the horror off. There are the 2 bless tokens going in the bag. Remember, as we saw last week, we saw the curses at work. This is our first look at the bless tokens. So the bless tokens function similar to the curse tokens. The only difference between the two being that instead of the curses being a -2, these are a +2, but you continue to draw. So those will go in the bag. We'll give that a quick shuffle. And then because of Carolyn's special ability, she will gain a resource from that and go to 3 resources. Anyway, that will do it for the action phase. Let me get the connection arrows out here as well. As much of the setup as I did for this last night, still some stuff I neglected in the grand scheme of things, but oh well. C'est la vie. And there we are. Okay, so now that's all set up. Orbits also makes these very beautiful connection arrows, so love a lot of their products. But anyway, once again, I'm getting off topic. Enemy phase, there are no enemies in play right now, so we'll go ahead and reset everything. And then we will move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource and go up to 4. Agnes will gain a resource and go up to 3. Then Agnes will draw. Word of Protection. Fast. Play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect, then take 1 horror. There's Agnes's hand. I don't know why it ended up there. Carolyn will draw. Emergency Aid. Choose an investigator at your location. Heal 2 damage from that investigator or from an ally asset he or she controls. Alright, so that could be something we use later. Anyway, Mythos phase time. Doom goes up on the agenda to 1. Agnes draws. Oh boy, Shadowhound. Prey at lowest agility. Hunter retaliate. Forced. After Shadowhound attacks you, resolve each haunted ability on your location. 2 combat, 3 health, 1 agility. But because of the clause on the agenda, we set it aside out of play. I'll put it by the agenda. And then we put another Doom on the agenda. So Doom goes up to 2. Then Carolyn will draw. Fate of All Fools. This is a peril, so Agnes technically wouldn't know about this. Revelation. You must decide, choose 1. If there is no other copy of Fate of All Fools in play, put Fate of All Fools into play in your threat area. An investigator with another copy of Fate of All Fools in his or her threat area takes 2 direct damage. Place 1 doom on another copy of Fate of All Fools. Well, since there is no other copy of Fate of All Fools, Carolyn's got to put it in play. So that will do it for the Mythos phase. We're back into the investigation phase now. First up will be Agnes, and I think her turn will take us back over to the map. Here's Agnes right here in shot. Action 1, we'll go ahead and move her over to the master bedroom. Take a look at the flavor text on here. This unmarked door is large and well polished. Set in a corner of the upstairs hallway out of view of guests and other prying eyes. And on the back we have Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Forced, when the round ends, if there's at least 1 investigator in the master bedroom, place 1 doom on the nearest Silver Twilight enemy. No doubt about it, this must be Joseph Meiger's bedroom. The centerpiece of the room is a massive canopy bed, the points of which are ornately covered. You see no sign of a Mrs. Meiger. So we'll get the 2 clues for that location. Then that was action 1. Action 2 will be to investigate. We are up 2, and that's all I can test at because of the Tower 16 being stuck in my hand. So up 2. Oop. Skull. Skull is -1, -3 instead if your location is haunted. Well, our location definitely is not haunted, so we do get the 2 clues off of there. Then action 3, since we don't have any Silver Twilight enemies out, I could stay and set up for next turn, but what I want to do next turn right now, I shouldn't have any problem pulling off, barring the encounter deck. So I think action 3 will move Agnes over to the balcony, kind of keep exploring a little bit more. So the balcony. An open glass door leads onto the balcony outside the estate's master bedroom. And we have... My apologies, folks. It's a nice day, so I was trying to get a little fresh air in, but the noise is starting to drive me crazy. So anyway, we just took a look at the unrevealed side of the balcony. Now let's take a look at the revealed side. Balcony, Shroud of 1, no clues. As an action, discard cards from your hand with a total of at least 3 lore icons. Parlay. The guest here knows more about the Silver Twilight Lodge than they let on. Gain 2 clues from the token pool, limit once per game. Alright, so that was all 3 of Agnes's actions. We'll flip her mini card over. Good thing we're at the map because Carolyn is also going to do a little bit of exploration. So action 1, she's going to move up to the office. Office. Each Silver Twilight enemy in the office loses aloof. Atop a deep staircase leading to the manor's 3rd floor, far from the hustle and bustle of the party below, a solitary oak door stands sentry, guarding Mr. Meiger's closest secrets. And we flip over to C. Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Each Silver Twilight enemy in the office loses aloof. Forced. If you reveal a bad symbol while investigating the office, place 1 doom on the nearest Silver Twilight enemy. Joseph's office is as much a display of his wealth and power as it is a workplace. So we'll go ahead and get the 2 clues out for that. That was action 1. Action 2 will be to investigate. And I'm going to commit emergency aid and deduction to get myself up 2 so I can try to get both clues. skull, as we saw earlier, is -1, -3 if your location is haunted. Our location is not haunted, and we were up 2, so Carolyn gets both clues as well. And then action 3, she's immediately going to step right back out. Before I do that, the skull effect, I just want to mention, the skull effect would go off, but there is no Silver Twilight enemy in play to put Doom on, so we get to duck that. But anyway, action 3, Carolyn's going to move right back to the Victorian halls. So that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, there are no enemies in play. We've only just drawn the 1 so far, so we'll reset everything. And then we'll move back up top, once I reset the minis, we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Agnes will gain 1 resource, go up to 4. Carolyn will gain 1 resource as well. She will go up to 5. Agnes will draw. Shriveling, you are very welcome right now. 3 cost to play, combat on commit, uses 4 charges. Action, spend 1 charge, fight. This attack uses lore instead of combat and deals +1 damage. If a bad symbol is revealed during this attack, take 1 horror, and it takes up another arcane slot. Carolyn draws. Logical reasoning, 2 cost to play, 2 will on commit. Play only if you have at least 1 clue. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator either heals 2 horror or discards a terror card from his or her threat area. Very thematic for an investigator like Carolyn, but anyway. Mythos phase. Doom on the agenda goes up to 3. Agnes draws. Trapped Sparks. Test agility 3. For each point you fail by, take a damage. If your location is haunted, as an additional cost for an investigator to commit 1 or more cards to this skill test, he or she must resolve each haunted ability on this location. Our location is not haunted, but because of the Tower 16 still being in Agnes's hand, I can't commit anything to the test anyway. So I'm at even. Not that I think I would have agility to commit anyway. No, I take that back. I could use the heirloom, but we're going to test at even. Rune cannot be good. Rune is -2. If you fail and this is an attack or evasion attempt, resolve each haunted ability on your location. So fortunately our location isn't haunted, but we do fail by 2, which means poor Agnes has to take another 2 damage. Ouch. Poor Agnes is getting abused over here. Carolyn draws. Obscuring Fog, Revelation, attached to your location, limit 1 per location. Attached location gets +2 Shroud. Forced, after attached location is successfully investigated, discard Obscuring Fog. And Carolyn is at the Victorian halls, so now that is a Shroud of 6. Which right now doesn't really matter too much because there are no clues on there. But I'm getting ahead of myself once again. So our first investigator, well, let me get that up to the discard pile. As we move back into the investigation phase, our first investigator will be Agnes, and we'll move over to the map. Agnes is over here at the balcony. For action 1, she's going to move back to the master bedroom. Action 2, she's going to move into the Victorian halls. Then for action 3, she's going to spend her 4 resources to play her copy of the Tower 16, so I can actually commit cards to skill test if I need to. So, got that in play now. That will do it for Agnes. We'll get Carolyn moving once again since we're over here at the map. Action 1... Actually, you know what? Better plan. Action 1, we're actually going to spend 2 resources. Actually, no, we are going to spend 4 resources. I was thinking about playing First Aid, but Agnes, we got some time on that. So we'll play the fingerprint kit so we can do some investigation. As I mentioned earlier, this is basically a 3-charge deduction in the hand slot. So it's also got a lore on commit, but I'm playing it. Uses 3 supplies. As an action, exhaust fingerprint kit and spend 1 supply, investigate. You get +1 lore for this investigation. If you succeed, you discover 1 additional clue from your location. So we'll get our 3 supplies out for that. I think these are... I'll use these as... Well, I'll use these interchangeably. So here's what I'm going to use as the supply tokens for the fingerprint kit. Action 2, we'll move Carolyn into the trophy room. Trophy room. Flanking the door are 2 deer heads mounted along the wall, set almost as though they are guarding its entrance. Okay. Then we flip this over to reveal. Shroud of 2, no clues. You spend some time schmoozing with the other guests. Either gain 2 resources or spend 1 resource or spend 2 resources to gain 1 clue from the token pool. Limit once per round. Mounted animal heads adorn this room's paneled walls, along with other artifacts from Joseph's collection. Dominating the room are several overstuffed armchairs arranged around a low table bearing a crystal decanter of brandy. So that was action 2. Action 3 will move over to the billiards room. From outside this room, you can hear the telltale clacking of billiard balls clattering against one another, along with idle chatter and laughter. We flip this over to find. Shroud of 3, no clues. Test agility, as an action, test agility 3 to compete with the other guests. If you succeed, gain 1 clue from the token pool, limit once per round. A ritzy, polished billiard table lies at the center of this room, surrounded by cigarette smoke and illuminated by 2 ornate lamps. Several guests relax around the table, casually playing or chatting with one another. Right. Okay, so that will do it for the investigation phase. That was Carolyn's 3rd action. Enemy phase, there are still no enemies in play, so nothing happens there. Now, we'll reset everything as long as we're over here. Reset the actions. Then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource and go to 2. Agnes will gain 1 resource and go to 1. Agnes will draw. Another Ward of Protection. We saw this when Agnes drew it last turn. Carolyn will draw. Healing Words. Uses 3 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge to heal a damage from an investigator at your location. Okay, we may need to get Carolyn and Agnes back together so we can do a little bit of healing of some of this damage. But once more, I'm getting ahead of myself. Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda, goes from 3 to 4. Agnes draws. Whispers in the Dark. Put Whispers in the Dark into play next to the agenda deck. Each location gains Haunted, take 1 horror. Forced. When the round ends, discard Whispers in the Dark. Hush, child. It will all be over soon. God, I hope not. Carolyn draws. Another Shadowhound, which goes out of play. We saw this earlier. And Doom goes up on the agenda, sending us up to 5. So that will do it for the Mythos phase. That was a relatively quick one. Our first investigator for the investigation phase, we really don't have much to do right now, so I guess just getting them back together and starting to set up is probably going to be the best plan. So let's do that. We'll start off with Carolyn, and we'll move over to the map. We're starting with Carolyn over here in shot. Action 1 will move to the trophy room. Action 2 will move into the Victorian halls. Then for action 3, we will take a resource and go up to 3. That will do it for Carolyn. Agnes, right now, similarly has nothing to do. So I think she's just going to take, I think her 3 actions are going to be all resource actions. So she's just going to take 3 resources. Because we've got a lot of expensive stuff in her hand that we want to eventually be able to play out at a moment's notice. But that will do it for Agnes. That'll do it for Agnes. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, once again, still no enemies in play. Anyway, with that, we'll go ahead and reset everything. Reset the minis. Reset our action tokens. Then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go up to 4. Agnes will gain 1 resource, go up to 5. Carolyn will draw. Rational Thought. Oh joy. Revelation, put Rational Thought into play in your threat area with 4 horror on it. Horror on Rational Thought may be healed as if it were on Carolyn. If there is no horror on Rational Thought, discard it. You can't heal horror from cards other than Rational Thought, and you can't gain resources from Carolyn's reaction ability. So in your threat area, we will get the 4 horror out for that. This card, actually, if you recall the scenario last week, this card did more than anything to really help, to really screw up the scenario, because we couldn't heal horror often. We just didn't get to our horror healing to speak of. This week, I think we're a lot more ready for it, though. Agnes will draw. Voice of Ra. Gain 1 resource. Reveal 3 random tokens from the Chaos Bag. For each bad symbol revealed, gain an additional 2 resources. So we'll probably end up using that to try to get some more resources into Agnes's grip. Anyway, Mythos. Okay, end of round. Whispers in the Dark goes away. Mythos phase. Doom on the agenda goes up to 6. Agnes draws. Terror in the Night. Test Will 4. If you fail, put Terror in the Night into play next to the agenda deck. If you fail by 3 or more, Terror in the Night gains Surge. If there are 3 copies of Terror in the Night next to the agenda deck, discard them and each investigator takes 3 horror. I think this is probably worth a Ward of Protection. So we will go ahead. I mean, she's up 1 and I can get her up enough, but I'd rather not deal with it if I don't have to. So we'll just go ahead and ward that. Agnes will take a horror. There's the horror for Agnes. On her player dashboard, thankfully. And I love those dashboards from Team Covenant. So I'm using them a lot, as you can see. Carolyn draws. Oh boy, another Terror in the Night. Unfortunately, she's down 1. Shoot. This is going to cause a small problem because one of the cards I could commit to this was something I was going to use to get rid of Rational Thought this turn. So I want to keep that if I can. I don't really want to commit anything from Carolyn's hand. Agnes's hand, however, since they're both back together, I will commit the Heirloom of Hyperborea to this from Agnes and put Carolyn up 2. Rune, as we saw earlier, is -2. If you fail and this is an attack or an evasion attempt, resolve each haunted ability on your location. Except we don't fail. That goes away. That goes to Agnes's discard pile. That will do it for the Mythos phase. The investigation phase is up next. We'll move down to Carolyn, and we'll start in her play, and we'll probably be spending her turn in her play area. If I were to come up with a catchy subtitle for the name of Carolyn, for the name of this turn for Carolyn, it would probably be Fix Her Ability to Heal Horror, because that's what we're going to do. So for action 1, we're going to spend 2 resources to play Logical Reasoning. Since we do have a clue, we can choose an investigator at our location. That investigator either heals 2 horror or discards a terror card from his or her threat area. I am the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing. Plato, the Republic. So we're going to choose Carolyn, and we're going to heal 2 horror off of Rational Thought. Unfortunately, we don't gain the resources from that. Actions 2 and 3... Oops, sorry, my voice cracked. Actions 2 and 3 will be to use 2 charges from her Book of Psalms. That goes up... Wait. Nope. Okay, those go there. We'll heal the other 2 horror from Rational Thought, and we'll put 4 more Blessed tokens in the chaos bag. So there are our... as I drop one on the floor. My hands are tiny. But anyway, now with that random musing aside, there are 4 Blessed tokens. And we'll put those in the bag and give it a good mix. So now the bag is 6 blesses and no curses yet. That could change in a heartbeat, though. Anyway, that will do it for Carolyn. Now we'll move over and pay her bestie, Agnes, a visit. Since there's really nothing to do yet for the time being, I'm not against taking another couple of setup rounds. So for action 1, Agnes is going to play her Voice of Ra. So she's going to gain 1 resource, and then reveal 3 random tokens from the bag and gain another 2 per bad symbol. So she's going to gain the 1 resource for sure, go up to 5. Then we'll reveal 3 random symbols from the bag. 3 random tokens from the bag, hopefully all symbols. But I'm far from sure of that. Right, there are 3 tokens. Trying not to look at them, trying to get them in my fist. Got them. Okay, so let's take a look at what we revealed. Ooh, that is probably the one time I'm happy to see that tentacle. Because that is one of the symbols that we can reveal for an additional 2 resources, but we get 4 resources out of that. So we go from 5 to 9. So that actually worked out really well, even though we just put a bunch of blesses in the bag. Action 2 will be to spend 3 resources and play her copy of Shriveling. So uses 4 charges, spend a charge to fight. This attack uses will instead of combat and deals +1 damage. If a bad symbol is revealed during this attack, take 1 horror. So we'll get the 3 charges out, or the 4 charges, I should say, for Shriveling. And then action 3, we'll go ahead and play her copy of Hallowed Mirror. So we'll get our first look at Soothing Melody this campaign. All right, so here's Soothing Melody. It's got lore, will, and agility on commit, 0 cost to play, bonded with Hallowed Mirror, heal 2 damage or 2 horror or any combination thereof from among investigators and or ally assets at your location. Draw 1 card. I'll try my hand at the French on the flavor text when I actually go to play that card, but I'm getting ahead of myself on that one. Enemy phase. There are still no enemies in play, so nothing really to do there. I will finish getting this dealt with in a second. We'll bring Agnes back down to her dashboard. Dashboard is noted. She sits in there noticeably better now that I've got her bonded cards out of there. But anyway, that will do it for the enemy phase because there are still no enemies in play. Now I'll start resetting everything. I never bothered flipping over the minis because I didn't even move over to the map this turn. Then we'll move all the way back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource and go up to 3. Agnes will gain 1 resource and go up to 7. Carolyn will draw. Her copy of Hallowed Mirror. Why did I... Okay, hold up. Agnes's needs to be in play, not the yard, or not the discard pile. So we just played Agnes's Hallowed Mirror, so I won't revisit Carolyn's. Agnes will draw. Another Voice of Ra. This could be handy to have. I might use that to generate some more resources, but I'm getting ahead of myself again. Mythos phase. Doom will go up to 7. Agnes draws. Obscuring Fog. Attach to your location, limit 1 per location, but there's already 1 in the Victorian halls, so this one actually gets discarded, so we get away with 1 there. Carolyn draws. Keeper of Secrets. Humanoid... Okay, 4/2/3. Humanoid, Cultist, Silver Twilight. Spawn any empty location. Aloof and retaliate. Forced. When the Mythos phase ends, place 1 Doom on Keeper of Secrets. As an action, you can parlay, test Lore 3. If you succeed, remove all Doom from Keeper of Secrets, and it's got 1 and 1. So that's going to go into play in the trophy room. At the end of the Mythos phase, we'll put a Doom up on him. We're going to be advancing this round, so I'm not really too terribly bothered about that. But that will do it for the investigation phase, or for the Mythos phase, I should say. Now we're into the investigation phase. Our first investigator will be Agnes, and we'll move down to our play area. Alright, so I think this is probably going to be our last setup round. I have a feeling things are about to go sideways here in a hurry for us. So for action 1, Agnes is going to play her Soothing Melody. So she's actually going to heal 2 of her damage and draw a card. What's the French on... is that French on there? Oh yeah. Et leur chanson, c'est... Oh boy. C'est mêlé au clair de lune. Au calme clair de lune, triste et moon. Paul Verlaine, clair de lune. My French is horrendous, okay? I haven't taken French since my long-repressed high school years. But anyway, there's the 2 damage coming off of Agnes. Then she draws a card. She will draw. Arcane Studies. This is a skill dump for will and lore for this skill test. So that's action 1. Action 2, I think we're going to go ahead and play another Voice of Ra. So we're going to try to get her resources up pretty high. So she's going to gain 1 resource for sure, go up to 8. And let's see if we can have similar luck to what we had with the last Voice of Ra. There are 3. Okay, got them. All right, and we have Bubkiss. Fantastic. Then action 3, I think Agnes will draw a card. Agnes will draw. Arcane Initiate. You are a sight for sore eyes. Forced, after Arcane Initiate enters play, place 1 Doom on it. As a fast action, exhaust Arcane Initiate. Search the top 3 cards of your deck for a spell and draw it. Shuffle your deck. 1 health, 2 sanity on Soak, and it's her ally slot. So anyway, that will do it for Agnes. Now we'll move over to Carolyn's play area. Alright, here we are with Carolyn. For action 1, we are going to spend 2 resources to play Carolyn's copy of Hallowed Mirror. Her turn's probably going to look very similar to Agnes's, aside from playing her Soothing Melody right away. So we'll get that in hand. We'll shuffle this into Carolyn's deck. Give it one more quick shuffle. And a cut. And then action 2 will be to play the soothing melody. Will heal Agnes, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the French again. So that'll bring Agnes up to full strength. Agnes will gain a resource because of Carolyn, putting Agnes back up to 9. And then Carolyn will draw a card. She will draw Emergency Aid. We committed this earlier to help you get the clues off the office. But anyway. Then for action 3, I think she will take another resource. So that will do it for Carolyn that'll do it for Carolyn, that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Keeper of Secrets doesn't do anything because he's not a hunter and he would be aloof anyway. But that will do it for the enemy phase. Now we'll move back up top once I reset everything, including the investigator minis. We'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. I will straighten out these action tokens. Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go up to 3. Agnes will gain 1 resource, go up to 10. Agnes will draw. Hypnotic Gaze. Fast. Play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location. Cancel the attack, then reveal a random token from the bag. If it's a bad symbol, deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself. Carolyn draws. Another copy of Soothing Melody. This could be helpful to have, especially, well, without getting into spoilers, Mythos phase, we are advancing the agenda. So we'll clear all the Doom out of play. All right. You have uncovered some evidence pertaining to the disappearances, but the truth has yet to be unveiled. If the investigators do not possess 3 per investigator clues as a group, so 6? No. They lose all of their clues. So I guess that's a price of leaving all of the evidence behind. So I won't bother myself with if the investigators possess at least 3 per investigator clues. I don't need to worry about that. Okay, open campaign guide. Open the campaign guide and proceed to Interlude 1, a record of those lost. Once this interlude has been resolved, remove all clues from each location in play and advance to Act 1B. Okay, so open the campaign guide and proceed to Interlude 1B. Alright, proceed to Interlude 1. Alrighty.
Interlude 1, a record of those lost. Do not read this interlude unless you are instructed to do so.
Which we have,
Check
then.
the missing persons section of your campaign log. In order, read the sections below for each of the characters whose profile is not crossed off.
Okay, so as we go into the campaign log, we will find that Jerome is up first. His profile is not crossed off.
If Jerome Davids' profile is not crossed off and there are no clues on the office, read the following.
Alright, so no clues on the office. There are no clues on the office, so we get to proceed.
Joseph Meiger's personal office is pretty tidy for somebody whose personal secretary just went missing. Perhaps he's just a fastidious person, or perhaps he's been scrubbing evidence of some wrongdoing. You find nothing of note in any of Joseph's files, but after some perusing, you realize there is one place you haven't checked: the trash. Rooting through the garbage bin yields fruit. Near the bottom is a small pocket journal belonging to Jerome Davids, probably tossed there carelessly by the cleaning staff. You turn to the last page. There, Jerome had recorded a list of names, perhaps transcribed from Joseph's records. You don't know what it means yet, but it must be important. Under missing persons, next to Jerome Davids' profile, record the investigators are on Jerome's trail.
All right, so because we emptied the office of clues, okay, the investigators are on Jerome's trail. And we had Penny as
Penny
well.
White's profile is not crossed off, and there are no clues on the balcony.
And the balcony is empty of clues.
The balcony outside Joseph Meyer's bedroom overlooks the rainy streets and somber spires of French Hill. According to eyewitnesses, Penny was last seen entering Joseph's bedroom, presumably to tidy it up, or perhaps to look for one of his personal belongings. The cigarette butt on the floor of the balcony tells a different story. Penny came here for a break, and judging from how busy the rest of the staff is, it was probably a much-needed one. If she had been in any danger, could she have climbed or jumped down from the balcony? You peer over the edge. It's possible, but unlikely. A fall from here could break a leg, or worse. She likely would have retreated back into the manor, where she could have called for help. Only, nobody saw her exit from the bedroom. Something doesn't add up. You tuck the cigarette butt into your coat pocket, hoping it's actually a lead and not a wild goose chase. Under missing persons, next to Penny White's profile, recorded the investigators are on Penny's trail.
Alright, so the investigators are on Penny's trail. So we're on both of our prologue investigators' trails. And now that we have read that, we get to advance to Act 1B. I'll go through the new agenda at the same time as well. Alright, so Act 1A. We're going to Act 1B. Death approaches. Before you can investigate further, the building is suddenly plunged into icy darkness. All of the lights flicker once and are snuffed out. A thick, otherworldly mist begins to seep into the corridors, causing everything it touches to decay. Move each investigator and enemy currently in the entry hall to the Victorian halls. For each location in play, find the set-aside spectral version of that location and swap them. All cards and tokens at the former location are now considered to be at the new location. If there is an investigator at that location, reveal it. In player order, each investigator spawns one of the set-aside monster enemies at his or her location until each of the set-aside monster enemies have been spawned. Spawn the set-aside Spectral Watcher enemy in the entry hall. Shuffle the remainder of the set-aside Watcher encounter set and the set-aside Realm of Death encounter set into the deck, along with the discard pile. Alright, so here we are. We'll separate the locations out. We didn't spawn Joseph Meyer. Spectral Watcher goes to the entry hall. And then the rest of the set, along with the Realm of Death, goes in, along with the discard pile. That part I'll do on camera. Oop. Didn't mean to jar the camera there. Excuse me. I'll have to cut that out. Anyway. Just giving this a little bit of a shuffle. Give it one more. And a cut. Alright, so that part's all done. Nobody was in the entry hall, so in player order, they're both going to end up with Shadowhounds on them anyway, so we'll just give one to each of them. Let's see, find the... Okay, so entry hall, Victorian halls, trophy room, billiards room, master bedroom, balcony, and office. Okay. Alright, so... Yeah, okay, I think we're all handled there. Yep, now we'll move over to the map. Actually, before we move over to the map, let's go through our new agenda as well. Actually, let's go through both the new act and agenda. So we'll go through Act 2A first, since it happens to be on the side I can get to first. Act 2A, the Spectral Realm. In the blink of an eye, everything has changed. A sudden, oppressive silence fills the halls of Joseph Miger's manor. Gone is the din of the idle chatter from the banquet hall, the clinking of glasses, the laughter of oblivious guests. Save for only you and several others, all of the people in the house have vanished without a trace. All that is left is the dark mist and the beings that inhabit it. We need 8 clues to advance. And then our new agenda. Over the threshold. Does this have something to do with the 4 missing persons? And if so, what does that mean for your survival? Each Silver Twilight enemy gains victory 0 and counts as an investigator for the purposes of determining where hunter enemies move during the enemy phase. Forced, after the hunter enemy's move step of the enemy phase, each ready spectral enemy deals its damage to each humanoid enemy at its location. We need 11 Doom to advance that. This is going to be fun. Alright, so. Mythos card. Encounter cards. Agnes draws. Crypt Chill. Test Will 4. If you fail, choose and discard 1 asset you control. If you can't, take 2 damage. The supernatural cold threatens to freeze your soul. Well, fortunately, we have something I don't mind discarding to this, so I'm not going to commit anything to it. Because in this case, either outcome I'm okay with. So, up 1. Tentacle touched. I'm not sad at all to see that tentacle because we can actually use the Tower 16 as the asset we discard. So that's very helpful to know. Carolyn draws. Realm of Torment. Oh joy. Put Realm of Torment into play in your threat area. Forced. When your turn begins, resolve each haunted ability on your location. Forced. When your turn ends, test Will 3. If you succeed, discard Realm of Torment. Oh, fantastic. Alright, so now we're going to move over to the map before we go into the investigation phase. Okay, so as you can see, it might be hard to see from this distance, but each location now has its spectral version in play instead of the previous version. But since we have investigators at the Victorian halls, let's go ahead and reveal this side. Oh boy. Shroud of 4, no clues. Haunted, lose 1 action. So that's going to basically screw Carolyn's turn up something fierce. Then when the Mythos phase ends, we put a Doom on Keeper of Secrets. Investigation phase now. Our first investigator will be Agnes, and we'll move down to her play area. Alright, here's Agnes. For action 1, we're going to use her special ability. So we're going to play a spell event. I'm going to take a damage to reduce the cost of it by 2. So I'm only going to pay 1 to play a Storm of Spirits. So I'm going to use Will instead of combat for this attack. Deal 2 damage to every enemy at the location. But if I pull a bad symbol, if I pull a Skull, Cultist, Rune, Elder Thing, or Tentacle, of those the only one that is not in the bag is the Elder Thing. If I pull that, I reveal 1 damage to each investigator at my location. So I'm up 3, and the biggest... Actually, I will commit... Does Carolyn have anything she wants to commit? She's got all kinds of will in her hand. I will commit... No, I think we're actually going to test up 3. Up 3 should be fine. -1. That does 2 damage to everything, to both enemies at the location. So I'll just grab 4 damage total. And we'll put 2 each on the Shadow Hound, each Shadow Hound. Then because I paid the cost for this, instead of paying, because I took the 1 damage, I'm going to shuffle it back into my deck. That was action 1. Action 2, I'm going to use a charge of Shriveling to try to take the Shadow Hound on Agnes out. She's up 3. A 0 takes out the Shadow Hound. So that's welcome. Then action 3, I think we try to take the Shadow Hound on Carolyn out as well. Or do I want to get her moving? This is a decision. Do I try to take the Hound on Carolyn out? Carolyn's up 1 trying to evade it, but she's also down in action because of Realm of Torment. Action 3, I wanted to play the Arcane Initiate, but yeah, I think that's what we do for action 3. I think for action 3, we do just go ahead and play the Arcane Initiate. See if I can find something else to help me do more damage. So we get the Doom. We'll get the Doom for that. Then we'll immediately exhaust it to use the special ability top 3, and I can and I get a spell. First card I find is another Arcane Initiate, so I can't take that. Card 2, Hypnotic Gaze, and card 3, another Storm of Spirits. I think we're going to keep the Storm of Spirits. Actually, that might very well be the same Storm of Spirits that we just played. All right. Actually, well, it's too late to worry about that now. But anyway, give that a cut. That will do it for Agnes in the investigation phase, because that was her action 3. So we'll move over to Carolyn, and we'll start at her play area. All right, here's Carolyn. Thanks to Realm of Torment, she's actually down in action this round. So for action 1, she's going to try to evade the Shadow Hound, up 1. Do we have any agility that we want to commit? Don't think so. So yeah, up 1. A 0 gets us away from the Shadow Hound. And then action 2 will take us over to the map. Alright, here's Carolyn. Action 2 will be to move her over to the trophy room. So let's take a look at our new spectral version. Looks like the flavor text is the same. So we have Shroud of 2, 2 clues. Haunted, lose 2 resources. For each resource you can't lose from this effect, take 1 horror. Rotting animal heads adorn this room's wood-paneled walls, once a display of power and sovereignty, now macabre displays of death and decay. You can't help but feel their empty eyes drill through you as you explore the room. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. Alright. Then at the end of her turn, she's got to test Will 3. Right now she's even. I'll commit healing words to bring her up 1. And I think that's where she'll test. Oop. That's the fan by mistake. Skull is -3 now that the locations are haunted, so Carolyn is still stuck with Realm of Torment. But that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Shadowhound doesn't do anything because it's exhausted. The Spectral Watcher, however, will come up and make friends with Agnes. Agnes will take 1 damage and 1 sanity. So the 1 damage on Agnes will flip into a 2. And then that will do it for the enemy phase. The Shadowhound will wake up and make friends with Agnes, as will the Spectral Watcher. We'll reset everything here. Give Carolyn her 3rd action back. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go to 4. Agnes will gain 1 resource and go to 8. Agnes will draw. Spectral Razor. Ooh. Fight. It's a 2 cost to play, it's an event. Will and combat. Fight. Add your will value to your skill value for this attack. Immediately before this attack, you may engage the attacked enemy. This attack deals +1 damage, +2 instead if the enemy is non-elite. Unfortunately, the Spectral Watcher is elite. Carolyn will draw. Scene of the crime. Play it only as your first action. Discover 1 clue at your location, 2 instead if there's an enemy at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. That may help us in getting some of these clues, but anyway. I'm just going to check something real quick. I'm pretty sure I have an open player window coming out of the upkeep phase. So, actually, I don't think I would have had a player window coming into the upkeep phase, but not one coming out. So, okay. Now that I've got that straight, we're into Mythos phase. Doom on the agenda goes up to 1. We end up at 2 Doom in play because of the Keeper of Secrets. Actually, 3 Doom because of the Arcane Initiate. Agnes draws. Another Obscuring Fog, which is still on her location and still doing nothing. Carolyn draws. Trapped Spirits. Uh-oh. Revelation test Agility 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 damage. If your location is haunted, as an additional cost for an investigator to commit 1 or more cards to this skill test, he or she must resolve each haunted ability on this location. Carolyn is down 1, and I think the only agility in her hand... Well, she's got 2 agility icons, but one of them I'm probably going to have to use to undo the damage from this. So anyway, down 1. -1 means that we fail by 2, so she takes 2 damage. So there's the 2 damage. That's going on Carolyn. Then in an open player window coming out of the Mythos phase, Where were you? Here you are. Yes. Coming out of the open player window after Carolyn draws her player card or encounter card, Agnes will exhaust the Arcane Initiate to see what we can do about finding another spell. So first card up. Another Clairvoyance, which we have a 2 charge of in play yet. Then Eldritch Inspiration. I'm not entirely sad to see that. And Read the Signs. Ooh. I think we're going to take Read the Signs, actually. So Clairvoyance is our Arcane investigation that we're currently using. Eldritch Inspiration lets us either cancel a Mystic card, an effect that triggers on a Mystic card from a bad symbol, or resolve it another time. Read the Signs is basically Spectral Razor, but investigate and you add your will value to your lore instead. So that's all that is. We'll give those, let me make sure, Read the Signs. Yep, Read the Signs is a spell, so I can take it. It would be kind of crazy if something that good wasn't a spell in this deck, but anyway. Alright, so our first investigator going into the investigation phase will be Agnes, and we'll move down to her play area. Here's Agnes. Action 1. We're going to start our turn off very similarly to how we started last turn. So we're going to take a damage to play that Storm of Spirits again, and we're going to aim at the Shadowhound. So we're up 3, trying to do 2 damage to everything in the area, or in the room. So up 2. Up 3. Alright, a 0 defeats the Shadowhound. I'll just take the 2 damage from the Shadowhound and put it on the Spectral Watcher. Action 2. Actually, before we go too much further, let's take a quick look at the Spectral Watcher. So the Spectral Watcher already has 2 damage on it. The Spectral Watcher, you are its prey. 3/5/3, Ancient One, Spectral Elite. Alert Hunter. Forced. So alert means if you fail an evasion test against it, it attacks you. Hunter just means it moves during the enemy phase. Forced. When the Spectral Watcher is defeated, instead of discarding it, heal all damage from it, disengage it from all investigators, and exhaust it. It does not ready during the upkeep phase this round. There is no escaping fate. 1 and 1 on attack. So because I paid the cost again of Storm of Spirits, that shuffles back into the deck. Alright, that was action 1. Action 2, I'm going to pay the full price of this, and I'm going to play the aforementioned Spectral Razor, and I'm going to target the Spectral Watcher. So I'm adding my will value to my skill value of 2, so I'm at 7, and I'm already engaged with him, so this attack will deal 2 damage if I'm successful, and I'm up 4. -1 gives me another 2 damage on the Spectral Watcher, so I'll bring that up to a 4. Then action 3, I'll use a charge of Shriveling to try to defeat it. So I'm up 2. Do I want to try to commit? Do I have anything I want to commit? Yeah, we'll use this. We'll use this copy of Arcane Studies and go up 3. +1 means the Spectral Watcher is defeated. So, we discard all damage from it. Disengage it from all investigators, and it doesn't ready this round. So this is a new type of token that I bought, also from LCG. Admittedly, I didn't originally have the card game in mind with it, but it's actually going to be very handy here, because it'll remind me that, hey, the Spectral Watcher doesn't activate this turn. So that will do it for Agnes. I'll go ahead and flip her mini card over. Now we'll move over to the map and see what Carolyn's doing. Because Carolyn still has Realm of Torment, she has to resolve the Haunted ability on her location. In this case, it's lose 2 resources. Then for action 1, I will immediately spend the last 2 resources. I have to do this as her first action. But I will play Scene of the Crime to discover 1 clue at my location, 2 if there's an enemy at my location instead, and there is an enemy, the Keeper of Secrets. So I get those 2 clues. Action 2, I will move over to the billiards room. I don't think this is the same flavor text, actually. No, it's not. Slightly different. From outside this room, you can hear the creaking of old wood and the patter of soft footsteps along the ground. This flips over into our first victory location, Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Haunted, you must either discard an asset you control or take 1 damage. The game room's warmth and laughter have been replaced with a sense of quiet dread. Tendrils of black mist slither from underneath the collapsed billiard table, twisting and swaying along the floor in a formless dance. Victory 1, so we'll get the 2 clues for that. Then action 3, we'll immediately try to yank those clues off with her fingerprint kit. So she's up 2. Do I have any lore? I'll commit emergency aid to go up 3. Trying to get those clues off the location. -1 gets both clues off the location, so that's cool. Alright, so we will grab those. That will do it for Carolyn. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase are only relevant enemies. Actually, we don't have any relevant enemies in the phase. The Spectral Watcher is a hunter, but we just defeated him and disengaged from him. So that will do it for the enemy phase. I'll start resetting everything. With that, we will move back up top for the upkeep phase. Just before I start into the main part of the upkeep phase, I do want to explain what I was talking about earlier when I was checking on open player windows. So when I start resetting everything, that basically means that the upkeep phase has already begun. So in the official rules reference, there's actually a section in there which details upkeep phase begins, player window, fast action player window, and then everything else during upkeep. So I wouldn't be able to use, say, the Arcane Initiate now. The next open player window I actually have would be after Agnes draws her encounter card in the Mythos phase. But just random musing, just wanted to clarify that in case anybody was confused. But Carolyn will gain 1 resource, go up to 1. Agnes will also gain a resource. Hey, look at that, 2 points. Go up to 6. Yes, my basketball sucks. Agnes draws. Ace of Rods, 3 cost Tarot to play. No cards on commit. During your turn, remove Ace of Rods from the game. You may take 1 additional action this turn, during which you get +2 to each of your skills. As a reaction, when the game begins, if Ace of Rods is in your opening hand, put it into play. Carolyn draws. Pathfinder, 3 cost to play. During your turn, if you're not engaged with any enemies, exhaust Pathfinder, move to a connecting location. Okay. And I did forget to test Carolyn's Realm of Torment. So, okay, so Pathfinder was not in her hand. She didn't have a resource yet. I'm going to commit first aid and go up 1. Bless, so she's up 3. Tentacle touched. Fantastic. Alright, so she still is suffering under Realm of Torment. Now she has the resource and her Pathfinder. Now we go into Mythos phase. So Doom goes up to 1, 2, 3, 4. Agnes draws. Wraith. 2s across the board. Monster, Geist, Spectral, Hunter. Forced. When Wraith is defeated by damage except from a spell or relic, instead of discarding it, attach it to its location. Attached location gains Haunted. Spawn Wraith at this location. 2 Horror on Soak, or on Attack. And now coming out of Agnes's encounter card, now we'll use the Arcane Initiate to look for another spell. So first card up. Spectral Razor. I may snap that up, but I haven't decided yet. I gotta see what else I get. Another Hypnotic Gaze. And Storm of Spirits. Ooh, this is a tough choice. So, do I want the Spectral Razor, or do I want the Storm of Spirits? Because I already have a Hypnotic Gaze that's basically a dead card in my hand for the time being. So I don't want that. Which means my choice is Spectral Razor or Storm of Spirits. I think I'm going to take the Spectral Razor for the time being. I don't really have a great swarm of enemies that I need to deal with yet, so as long as I can keep the board somewhat under control, I'm not too bothered with it. And then Carolyn draws. Oop, wrong deck. We'll give that a shuffle. Pretend you didn't see that. Now let's draw from the right deck. Carolyn draws. Nether Mist. 3/4/3, Prey. Investigator at the location with the most clues. Aloof Hunter. Nether Mist's location gains Haunted. Nether Mist attacks you. Oh dear. We beseech the dead, but do we really wish to see them? Victory 1, 1 and 1. That's unfortunate, because Realm of Torment is still active for Carolyn. But that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now. We'll start with Agnes and we'll start down at her player area. Just before we start with Agnes's turn, I did almost forget. Keeper of Secrets Doom. Keeper of Secrets gets another Doom, so he goes up to 2, which means we have 5 Doom in play, so I need to start being somewhat aware of that. But now that we've got that straight, action 1, we're going to shrivel this Wraith. We're up 3. A rune. The rune is -2. If you fail and this is an attack or evasion attempt, resolve each haunted ability on your location. We don't fail. The Wraith is dead. Agnes takes a horror from the... Here it is. Takes a horror from Shriveling, which I will put on her. And then that frees up her turn. Her next action will take us over to the map. The Spectral Watcher is waking up this round, so action 2 for Agnes, we're going to move her over to the master bedroom. This unmarked door is all old and partially rotted, set in a quiet center of the corner of the upstairs hallway. A thick, dark fog seeps beneath the door and wafts around your feet. And it reveals 2. Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Haunted, place one of your clues on master bedroom, victory 1. Tendrils of black mist have invaded every corner of this room from the open balcony doorway, causing the furniture to decay and collapse. Every piece of wood and glass is shattered and warped. Nothing is untouched. Alright, so there are our 2 clues. And for action 3, I think we're going to go ahead and try to pull those clues off that location. And I'm going to use a charge of clairvoyance to do it. So right now I'm up 2. And that's where I'll test. This is Agnes' 3rd action. +1 means she does take a horror from clairvoyance, but it does give her both... Actually, I'll put the horror on... No, I can take the horror. But it does give her both clues, which means we're up to 6 now. Anyway, that will do it for Agnes. As long as we're over here, we might as well jump into Carolyn's turn. So she's got to either discard an asset she controls or take 1 damage. I think we're going to discard the Book of Psalms. Unfortunate, but I'd rather not take more damage than I have to, because I also have to take an attack from the Nether Mist. So I'll take 1 damage and 1 horror. And then as much as I want to turn... Then I'm going to have to turn Carolyn into a speed demon the old-fashioned way. But, so the way we're going to do that is we're just going to get her moving. So I'm going to move her 1, 2... Actually, action 1, action 2, action 3 up to the office. The lone door atop the 2nd floor staircase has rotted and decayed as though hundreds of years have passed. The once polished oak is now stained and warped. It could collapse at any moment. The office. Shroud of 4, 4 clues. Haunted, choose and discard a card from your hand. A thick, oppressive haze fills what was once an impressive office. Cracks fork up and down the wooden paneling of the walls, and the bookshelves surrounding Joseph's desk sag with the weight of rotten, decayed books. Victory 2. So we need to get those clues off that location as fast as if we can. Anyway, that will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, now we do need to be careful of this. So... Now we have a hunter enemy. So the Nether Mist moves. And each spectral enemy deals its damage value to each humanoid enemy at its location. So the Keeper of Secrets will take 1 damage. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to save him ultimately. But that will do it for the enemy phase. So the Spectral Watcher wakes up. We'll reset everything there. Also reset Agnes's action tokens. I never bothered turning Carolyn's over because her turn was so simple. Then we'll move all the way back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase, and once again, before I get into that, I once again forgot to test Carolyn's Realm of Torment. So before I go into the upkeep, she's even. I'll commit Clarity of Mind to put her up 1. Rune, as we saw, is -2, so she still has Realm of Torment to deal with. Alright, so now we've got that done. Carolyn gains a resource, goes up to 2. Agnes gains a resource and goes up to 7. Agnes draws. Drawn to the Flame. This will be very helpful. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. I'll go through the flavor text when we actually play it, which we're likely to next turn. Carolyn draws. Another Clarity of Mind. So we had to commit it earlier, but looks like we get it back. So Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up, which brings us up to 6 Doom. Agnes draws. Oh dear. Shapes in the Mist, Surge. Revelation, resolve each haunted ability on your location. So Master Bedroom makes us place one of our clues back on there, on Master Bedroom. Fantastic. I wasn't able to get her out of there, unfortunately. So Surge, this is still Agnes's card. Terror in the Night. Test Will 4. If you fail, we saw this earlier. Alright, so we are up 1. Is there anything I want to commit to this? Actually, you know what? I think I'm actually just going to ward it. Because I warded it earlier. So, we'll put the horror on the Arcane Initiate. So there's that. And then speaking of the Arcane Initiate, in our open player window, coming out of Agnes drawing her encounter card, we'll draw 3 and we'll search the top 3 for a spell. So first card up. Another Read the Signs. I'm tempted by that. Second card. Drawn to the Flame. I wish I could take this, but it's an insight, not a spell, so I can't take that. And Eldritch Inspiration. I think I really wanted an attack spell here, truth be told. So I guess I'll have to settle for taking... I guess I'll have to settle for taking another Read the Signs. Alright, we'll give that a quick shuffle. Small deck. And to cut. Carolyn will draw from the right deck this time, and she'll draw. Lodge Neophyte. Spawn any empty location aloof. Forced. After Lodge Neophyte enters play, place 1 Doom on it. Then as an action to parlay, test Will 2. If you succeed, remove all Doom from Lodge Neophyte, does a horror on attack. So I'll put that in the billiards room. Now that'll bring us into the investigation phase. Our first player will be... oh boy. Actually, move that over to Agnes's hand. So we're at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Doom. 2 of it's going away next turn, because the Keeper of Secrets is going to bite it. But... unless I can get down and save it, which doesn't seem likely. But anyway, our first investigator will be Carolyn, and her turn will start us at the map. Alright, so here's Carolyn. First thing we have to do, because of Realm of Torment, is discard a card from her hand. So we're going to discard her other Clarity of Mind to that. Then action 1, we're going to use the Fingerprint Kit, going up 1, trying to discover 2 clues. Unfortunately, I don't have any lore that I want to commit to this test. Tentacle touched. Fantastic. Action 2 in that case will be to do a little bit of healing, so we'll heal 2 damage from her. And then draw a card. So Carolyn draws. Dr. Milan Christopher, where have you been? Action 3 will prepare to play him. as we gain a resource. Bring her up to 3. Then at the end of her turn, she's got to test Realm of Torment. So she's at even, and I just played her only will icon, so at even. +1 actually gets rid of it, thank God. So I don't have to worry about, hopefully I won't have to worry about haunted abilities anymore. That will do it for Carolyn. We'll go ahead and flip her mini card over. Agnes will start over here. Action 1, we'll try to use her clairvoyance, see if we can get that clue right back. So we're up, kicking the fan again, up 2. Is there any will I want to commit to this test? I think pretty much all the will I have I'm going to need, so up 2. -1 gets her the clue back. Action 2 will move over to the balcony. I'm not really ready to deal with the Spectral Watcher just yet. Well, I could potentially, but I've got a plan here. Action 2, we're going to move over to the balcony. Come on. A shattered glass door leads onto the balcony outside the estate's master bedroom. Shroud of 1, 2 clues. Haunted. Each of your cards with health takes 1 direct damage. Clouds of dark mist loom above French Hill. Spectral shapes surround the balcony, moaning and writhing in torment. So that was action 2. Action 3, we're going to pay 2 and play Read the Signs. So we're up 6 trying to get those clues. Which never went on the location, go figure. Bless, so we're up 8 now. +1 gets her both clues. So the Bless stays out. +1 goes back in. Okay, so that's all 3 of Agnes's actions. On the enemy phase, the Nether Mist moves to the Victorian halls. The Spectral Watcher will send him here. Send him after the Keeper of Secrets. Then he will deal his damage to the Keeper of Secrets, which takes him out. So he moves into the victory display. Yep. And counts as an investigator. Okay, so the Keeper of Secrets has been taken out, which means we won't have to keep putting Doom on him at the end of every Mythos phase. So that part's welcome. But that will do it for the enemy phase. So we'll ready everything. And then we'll move back. We'll go ahead and flip these over as well. Then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn gains 1 resource, goes up to 4. Agnes gains 1 resource, goes up to 5. Agnes draws. Drawn to the Flame, very timely. Carolyn draws. Liquid Courage. 1 cost to play, will on commit. Uses 4 supplies. As an action, spend 1 supply, choose an investigator at your location to heal 1 horror, then that investigator tests will 2. If the test succeeds, he or she heals 1 additional horror. If the test fails, he or she discards 1 card at random from his or her hand. Okay, so Mythos phase, Doom goes up to 6. Agnes draws. Terror in the Night. Revelation test will 4. If you fail, put it into play next to the agenda deck. If you fail by 3 or more, it gains Surge. If there are 3 copies next to the agenda deck, discard them and each investigator takes 3 horror. Alright, so right now, Agnes is up 1. The question is there anything I want to commit? There is... there is not. So up 2. Or up 1, I should say. A 0 keeps us clear of Terror in the Night. Good. Then Carolyn draws. Watcher's Grasp. Uh-oh. Heal 3 damage from the Spectral Watcher. Ready the Spectral Watcher. It moves, engages, and attacks as if it were the enemy phase. Throughout the resolution of this effect, the Spectral Watcher gains Pray You. So let's move over to the map real quick so we can resolve that. Alright, that's rather unfortunate because that's going to kind of complicate what I wanted Agnes to do this turn. But here's the Spectral Watcher. So it's just going to move over to the Victorian Halls. Anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Before we leave the Mythos phase, though, I'm going to use the Arcane Initiate and let Agnes look for another card, for another spell. So first card up. Storm of Spirits. This might be something we consider. So I'll move that to the discard pile. Then... another Shriveling, which is also a sight for sore eye, which is also going to be very welcome. And Hypnotic Gaze. The only one I don't want of these is the Hypnotic Gaze. So do I want the Shriveling or the Storm of Spirits? I think right now I want the Shriveling, honestly. So we'll move the Shriveling into Agnes's hand. I'll give this a shuffle. This is going to be a pretty crappy shuffle. And there's a cut. Alright, so we'll move the Shriveling into her hand. Now, we do have 8 clues, so I'm very tempted to advance the act right here. Which I think I will do, but I need to change my battery first. So, be right back for that. Alright, we're back. Battery's changed out, and now I'm going to spend the 8 clues. 4 from each of our ladies. To advance the act. A way out. You find the corpse of one of the others trapped here. A member of the Silver Twilight Lodge, you surmise. Although his outfit of blue and silver robes suggests something more esoteric. Gripped tightly in his withered hands is a small tome bearing the insignia of the lodge. Browsing through its pages, you are surprised to find all manner of information regarding the mist and the creatures you have encountered, including a spell to, quote, release the bonds of death and escape the mist. How long has this man been here, studying this realm? Regardless, at least you have a way out now. The mist blocking your escape recedes. Reveal the entry hall. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the deck. Alright, so let's take a look at the entry hall and then we'll reveal it. The entry hall is blocked by a wall of spectral mist. You cannot enter the entry hall. Silver Twilight enemies cannot spawn in the entry hall. That's not true anymore. A wall of dark mist blocks your escape, decaying everything it touches. Ghostly hands grasp at you from the mist, desperately trying to pull you in. You suspect that if you tried to cross through the mist, you wouldn't emerge alive. Alright, as an action... Alright, Shroud of 3, no clues. As an action, resign. You tear through the front doors of the manor, escaping the spectral realm and leaving the remainder of the survivors to their fate. The dark mist begins to recede, and the entry hall to Joseph's Manor is slowly restored to its original state as the mist dissipates. Okay. Let's take a look at our new act. Act 3A, Escape the Cage. Now that the mist has receded, you might be able to escape with your lives, but what about Joseph Miger and the other Lodge members left behind? Should you stay to make sure they escape or flee while you have the chance? Forced, at the end of the round, each Silver Twilight enemy in the entry hall escapes. Place them beneath the entry hall, out of play. Move each ready Silver Twilight enemy with the aloof keyword once toward the entry hall. Objective, if each undefeated investigator has resigned, advance. Alright, so now the Silver Twilight Lodge is trying to get out. The question is, do we assist them or do we just tell them to get bent? Right. Well, that's a decision to make, but I don't have to make it right this second. Our first investigator will be Agnes, and as long as we're right here, we might as well stay here at the map. So for our first action, we're going to spend 3 resources to play another copy of Shriveling. I'll discard the Clairvoyance in a second. So I'll go get the Clairvoyance off the board, get another 4 charges for this new Shriveling. Action 2, I'll move into the master bedroom to try to siphon the Spectral Watcher away. And then for action 3, I'll take a resource and bring her back up to 3. That will do it for Agnes. For Carolyn, she's going to spend all 4 of her resources. Sorry, I'm thinking here. I also don't have to resolve haunted abilities anymore because I finally got rid of Realm of Torment. Action 1, I think we're going to play... yeah, might as well. He'll be soaked too, if we need him. So for 4, I'm going to play Dr. Milan Christopher, +1 Professor of Entomology, +1 Lore. After you successfully investigate, gain 1 resource. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. 1 health, 2 sanity on soak. Action 2 will use the last charge of Fingerprint Kit to try to investigate. We are up. That puts us up 2. A 0 gets us 2 clues. It says 2 clues and a resource. Thank you, Milan. Then action 3, we will run that investigate back. This time we're only up 1. Bless puts her up 3. Rune is -2 if you fail, and this is an attack or an evasion, except we didn't fail. So we get another clue, which will help me out for next... The resource will help me out for next round. Alright, that will do it for the investigation phase. I'll go ahead and turn over Carolyn's mini. Enemy phase. The Nether Mist is looking for the investigator at the location with the most clues, so it's moving to Carolyn. Then the Spectral Watcher... I moved Agnes there so I could draw the Spectral Watcher away from Carolyn. So Agnes will take 1 and 1. I'll have Agnes take the damage, and I'll put the horror... Actually, the arcane, that takes out the Arcane Initiate, doesn't it? Yeah, I'll take the horror as well. So that will do it for the investigation phase, or for the enemy phase. I'll start resetting everything. Then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. And I never flipped Agnes's over, but anyway, moving back up top for the upkeep phase. Okay, so back up top for the upkeep phase. Carolyn gains 1 resource, goes up to 3. I forgot to unexhaust her fingerprint kit. Agnes gains 1 resource, goes up to 4. Agnes draws. Dread Curse, aka F the chaos, F the bag. So put 5 tokens into the chaos, or 5 curse tokens into the chaos bag. We all have wings, but they have not been of any avail to us, and if we could tear them off, we would do so. Franz Kafka, the blue Octavo notebooks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five curses going into the bag, which is unfortunate. Carolyn draws. Eureka. If the test is successful, the investigator performing the test searches the top 3 of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles. Okay. Then at the end of the round, each Ready Silver Twilight enemy with aloof once toward the entry hall. So we'll move the Lodge Neophyte toward into the trophy room, which you'll see once we move over to the map. But Mythos phase, Doom goes up on the agenda, bringing us up to 8 Doom in play. Agnes draws. No, actually, I can't count. 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. So we're actually at 7 Doom. Agnes draws. Another Neophyte, which will spawn at an empty location. Technically, we could spawn it at the entry hall. As he realizes, bye-bye! Or could we? Yeah, we can spawn him at the entry hall. So we'll spawn him there. And Carolyn... Yeah, Carolyn will draw next. She draws. Fate of All Fools. So we have to put... Well... So we have to use one of the other 2 choices. An investigator with another copy of Fate of All Fools in his or her threat area takes 2 direct damage, or place a doom on another copy of Fate of All Fools. So we're at 7 doom right now. I think Carolyn can take the 2 damage from that. So there's the 2 damage that we'll put on Carolyn. That will do it for the Mythos phase. The investigation phase is up next, and we will move over to the map and Carolyn. So just before we start with Carolyn's turn, I did want to mention, the Lodge Neophyte up here in the trophy room actually started the phase in the billiards room, so at the end of the round he moved over to the trophy room, so that's what he's doing over there now. Anyway, Carolyn's first action will be to try to get that last clue, and I'm going to commit Eureka to this to put her up 2. And we just basically F the bag, so let's see how badly this goes. Bless puts her up 4. Sorry, I didn't mean to jar the camera there. So now we're up 4. Skull is -1, -3 instead if your location is haunted. So we do get the last clue. Carolyn gets another resource. Thank you, Milan. So the skull goes back in, the bless stays out. And for action... for Eureka, we're going to search the top 3 for a card. First card up. Another fingerprint kit. I think the scenario is pretty much over now. Now we're just on the Gitfo plan. Card 2, the Solemn Vow. Card 3 is another Liquid Courage. I'm going to take the Solemn Vow just to kind of guard against some will tests. Give that a shuffle. I'll be able to do a couple of these off on camera. And a cut. Then action 2, we're going to spend 3 resources to play Pathfinder. Agility on commit, fast action. During your turn, if you are not engaged with any enemies, exhaust Pathfinder, move to a connecting location. Searches after horror haunt strange far places. Searchers after horror haunt strange far places. H.P. Lovecraft, The Picture in the House. It's going to come into play, I'm going to immediately exhaust it so I can move down to the Victorian halls. Then for action 3, I'll move down to the entry hall. I'll bring Solemn Vow into Carolyn's hand. That will do it for Carolyn. As long as we're over here at the map, let's start with Agnes's turn. Now, the question is, do I try to pound the Spectral Watcher into pieces? Well, actually, fast action before we start her turn will exhaust the Arcane Initiate to look at 3 cards and grab a spell. Card 1, Storm of Spirits. Card 2, Eldritch Inspiration. Card 3, another Hypnotic Gaze. So another plan I might have dancing in my head right now is just try to get away from the Spectral Watcher, which does not actually seem like a terrible idea, but just to try to get away from that. I think with that in mind, I am going to take the Hypnotic Gaze. So we'll give this a really lousy shuffle because I have so few cards left in the deck. Give it a cut. All right. Now, action 1 is going to be the aforementioned Try to Evade. And I'm going to commit both of my copies of Hypnotic Gaze to go up 2 from even. -1 evades the Spectral Watcher. So that goes back up to the master bedroom. Then for action 2, I'll get Agnes out to the Victorian halls, and then action 3 down to the entry hall. Unfortunately, neither can resign because we're short on action. They both got their action short. Enemy phase, the Nether Mist actually stays up in the office. So that's rather fortunate. And then because we exhausted the Spectral Watcher, it doesn't do anything either. Because we exhausted that, and the Nether Mist, there are no locations with any clues on them. We've cleared them all off. But with that, we will go ahead and start resetting everything. And then we'll move, action tokens as well. Then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. We're back up top for the upkeep phase. I did also unexhaust Pathfinder and Arcane Initiate. So those have been handled. Now, upkeep phase proper. Carolyn is up to 2 resources. Agnes goes up to 5. Carolyn draws. Her own copy of Drawn to the Flame, which we no longer need. Agnes will draw. The copy of Storm of Spirits, probably the copy of Storm of Spirits that I shuffled away. That thing has been insane for us, this scenario. Anyway, end of round. Each Silver Twilight enemy in the entry hall escapes. So he escapes. We'll put him beneath the entry hall. Then each Silver Twilight enemy with aloof moves once toward the entry hall, so we'll move him toward the Victorian halls. Mythos phase, Doom and Play. We'll go up to 8. Agnes draws. Mysteries of the Lodge. Place 1 Doom on the nearest cultist enemy. Then, until the end of the round, increase the difficulty to fight, evade, or parley with that enemy by 2. If no Doom is placed by this effect, Mysteries of the Lodge gains Surge. So the nearest enemy, the nearest cultist is the Lodge Neophyte that's in the Victorian halls. So we place a Doom on that. Carolyn draws. Trapped spirits. Test agility 3. For each point you fail by, take 1 damage. If your location is haunted, which it's not, as an additional cost for an investigator to commit 1 or more cards to this skill test, he or she must resolve each haunted ability on this location. So Carolyn, looking at her hand, doesn't have any agility, and I think Agnes used hers in trying to get away from the Spectral Watcher. And Carolyn's down 1 to begin with, so that's where she's going to have to test. -3 says, yeah, right. But the one good thing is that it does reset her skill value to 0. So she fails by 3, which means Milan's going to take 1 damage. It is damage, right? Yep. Milan's going to take 1. That'll defeat him. Carolyn will have to take the other 2, but she'll survive, which is the important part here. Because for the investigation phase, this is going to be a very short investigation phase. Agnes is going to resign, as is Carolyn, and the scenario is over. So, as we look at Act 3A, if each undefeated investigator has resigned, advance. Coming to this place was a terrible mistake. You had hoped to uncover evidence pertaining to the disappearances at the estate, not become victims yourselves. As you tear through the entry hall and slam through the manor's heavy front doors, you vow to put as much distance between you and the Miger estate as you possibly can. Unfortunately, your plan is quickly derailed. R1. I'd love to know how these 2 ladies plan on slamming through those heavy doors, but that's me just randomly musing. So we go to Resolution 1, which... okay, there we go.
If no resolution is reached, Resolution 1.
Here we go.
As soon as you emerge onto the patio, you are surrounded by grim men in trench coats. Several of them reach into their coat pockets, a warning not to do anything too hasty. Before any threats can be fulfilled, the silence is broken by an icy voice. Now, gentlemen, there is no need for that. The men withdraw to reveal an elderly man you recognize as Carl Sanford, the president of the Silver Twilight Lodge. Despite the dangerous situation, his expression is almost too casual. The complete lack of fear in his posture and his actions suggest confidence backed by substantial power. His bodyguards take several steps back, allowing you to speak with Mr. Sanford in private. In your campaign log, record the investigators escape the spectral realm.
I can zip it for a second. The investigators escaped the spectral realm. Oh, come on.
Each investigator earns experience equal to the victory X value of each card in the victory display. Proceed to Interlude 2, the price of progress.
Okay. So, I will check that off. Alright, so as we look at... so I'll move back over to the map for a second. 2, 3, 4. So we are gaining another 1, 2, 3, 4 experience from locations that we cleared. Which is actually pretty good. We didn't manage to get the Nether Mist down too, but I was more worried about trying to get away from that than make friends with it. But now we're into Interlude 2, the price. We're ready for the interlude. Price of progress.
Interlude 2, the price of progress. If at least one of the investigators has the Silver Twilight trait, proceed to the price of progress 1. Otherwise, skip to the price of progress 2.
Checking our investigators, we see Agnes is a sorcerer, and Carolyn is a medic. No Silver Twilight to be found there, so price of progress 2.
The price of progress 2. I regret that we must meet under such unfortunate circumstances, Mr. Sanford says offhandedly. You narrow your eyes. You suspect Fortune had nothing to do with it. You ask him what will happen to those still trapped inside. Human progress requires sacrifice, he recites stoically. It is lamentable when that sacrifice is in blood, but the price in lamentation does not outweigh the yield of our labor. Proceed to the price of progress 3. The price of progress 3. You didn't come here to listen to Mr. Sanford proselytize about sacrifice. You came here for answers. You demand an explanation, but the elderly man cuts you off with a scowl. Yes, you speak of the incident last week. That was the creature's first manifestation, and the arrival of the dark mist, which you encountered inside. He glances at the front door to the manor and clears his throat. The lodge was not involved in the disappearances that occurred that night, he explains after a short pause. But we couldn't exactly go to the police and tell them a creature made of mist kidnapped 4 people in Mr. Meyer's household, could we? So we had to take matters into our own hands. We suspected that creature was drawn to the crowd, so we recreated the incident in order to understand what happened, to discern its motives. The decision to host another event at Mr. Meyer's estate so soon after the disappearances makes sense to you now. As much as you hate to admit it, there is some logic to the plan the lodge put into action, although you don't particularly like being used as bait. Who knows how many innocent bystanders were put in mortal danger? Even if the goal was noble, was it worth the sacrifice? I hope you understand that our organization only seeks the betterment of humankind. There are harsh truths that lie beyond our 5 senses, Mr. Sanford says, his expression grim. If we are to survive and prosper, we must adapt. We must learn. We must understand. That is what our order seeks to achieve, a greater understanding of the world around us. A worthy pursuit, don't you agree? Check the Silver Twilight enemies in the Victory display and beneath the entry hall. If Joseph Meiger is in the Victory display, proceed to the price of progress 4. If Joseph Meiger is beneath the entry hall, skip to the price of progress 5. If neither of the above are true, and the number of Silver Twilight enemies in the Victory display is equal to or greater than the number beneath the entry hall, proceed to the price of progress 4. If none of the above are true, and there are more Silver Twilight enemies beneath the entry hall than in the Victory display, skip to the price of progress 6.
Okay, so clam up for a second. Alright, so as we check, Joseph Meiger is not in the Victory display. We actually never spawned him. He's also not beneath the entry hall, so that one's out. And we have to check the number of Silver Twilight enemies in the Victory display. We have 1, and we have 1 beneath the entry hall as well. So we proceed to the price of progress 4.
The price of progress 4. Before you can reply, one of Sanford's men emerges from the house behind you. He sheathes a long silver blade as he addresses Mr. Sanford. There is no sign of Joseph inside, sir. The man eyes you suspiciously, keeping his hand on the hilt of his sword. His posture reminds you of that of a knight, stoic and rigidly disciplined. I see, Sanford replies. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath before continuing. A great loss for our order, but one we anticipated. Gather the lodge's belongings from inside the estate, and I will deal with the consequences. The knight nods and heads back inside. Carl's cold blue eyes turn back toward you. As for you, I would ask you to leave this place at once. You have done enough harm as it is. Before you can protest, he commands the other men nearby to escort you off the premises, and you have little choice but to comply. In your campaign log, record Joseph disappeared into the mist. In your campaign log, record the investigators are enemies of the lodge. The story continues in scenario 3, the secret name.
Which is where we're going next week. But we actually had a decent scenario on this one. We came out of this one with 4 experience, so that'll do it for this week's scenario. Later this week, we'll have new upgrades video to strengthen Agnes and Carolyn's deck a little bit further, and then we'll continue with the 3rd scenario, the secret name. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, make sure you turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.